Hi everyone, welcome to another stroke analysis session with me, Coach Micah. We are going to look at Ryan. Ryan is a 3.5 player and we're going to check out his backhand. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to let his backhand run a few times just in real pace, and then we are actually going to add Novak Djokovic to it. So I do like Djokovic in comparison for everybody because he's got a perfect backhand. So let's look at the components of Ryan's backhand. So the first thing is that we're seeing his left hand grip is an Eastern backhand grip. He's a right-hander, and his right hand, we can't see that from this perspective as much, is just between a continental grip and an Eastern grip. So it's a little bit further over than I would teach it, but it's absolutely okay to keep that grip. Usually when I have newer players, I do like the continental grip, but this is absolutely fine. Djokovic does have a continental grip on his bottom hand, so the swing might look just a smidgen different because the swing path is always defined by your grip and how you need to meet the contact point. So let's look at Ryan first. On the take back, so ready position. We talked in that lesson that we had a little bit about him wanting to be a little bit further back and not hugging the baseline. Of course, when I'm just feeding, that's one thing, but I did find that you're just a little too close to the baseline here, Ryan. So just back up a little bit more, and that way you have more opportunities to actually step into the ball when you're rallying, when you're playing points, rather than being pushed off the baseline and having to play off your back foot a whole lot. So just in comparison, see that here, how much difference the positioning is for Novak. Even when he's just rallying, he's further back. So on the take back, what I do like is the racket face is above your wrists. We do want that. And what I'm lacking a little bit, or I find lacking, is a little bit more of a loop. And we do see that here in comparison with Novak. He's got the same or a very similar take back, racket face above the wrists. But then we look at this drop, and he's also using his right leg a lot more to get under the ball, and you always want to use your legs to get under the ball. So it's not just the racket and the racket head, but you see here he's describing a much lower loop than you. So I'm going back here, slow that down. So from here, I would love to have a little bit more of a loop, because that just gives you more topspin, more stability, gives you more net clearance. You tend to miss in the net when you miss. So ideal would be that lower loop. And instead you're really just coming flatly forward. And we'll see that a lot from the back here. And you see it starting now on the forward swing. You're very close to the side of your body, right? So the right side here, the right arm kind of gets a little bit into a bend, into too much a bend for me for this grip. And then you're pretty close in making contact to your body as well. So I would like to have some more air between the rib cage and the upper arm. And we see that a little bit better in the other perspective. So you see that here, Novak has his right arm fully extended on the take back. Left arm is a little bent, and you have a very similar take back. So I do like that, but then you're pulling the racket in to your side, whereas Novak leaves both arms pretty extended. At contact point, it's actually his left arm that is almost fully extended, and the right bends ever so slightly. And then on the follow through, because he had that lower take back, he rolls all the way around, and you're coming up here nicely as well. So the follow through here is fine. It's just from this part on, just a little tight to my mind. So if you want to give yourself a little more space, one thing that I did notice is that you tend to have, if I'm just letting this run here, and I'm trying to make this really a little slower so we see that, when you're taking your racket back. So very slow. Yep. It's a pretty flat forward. I almost want to call it a slap, if you will. So let's hold that here. So that is really the one thing you want to give yourself a little bit more space sideways so that you can get at the ball with a little bit more extension. And that also helps you then, of course, making contact a little bit more in front, being able to really transfer your body weight into the shot, which I think you're doing an okay job already. And we see that here, how you're loading on your back foot, and that is your left foot, and then you're striding into the shot here. So there definitely is a clear shift of your body weight, and you're transferring your energy into the ball that way, but I think you could do that a little bit more, and then using that energy to create a little bit more topspin will give you more net clearance and immediately more depth. And again, if you look at Novak, how low he's getting there, number one, with his front leg, but then also with his racket here, getting under the ball and brushing up to contact point instead of just forward to contact point. So that's the major difference that I'm seeing here. So now let's look at your backhand from the back. Ryan's backhand from the back perspective. I am going to let it run through at real speed, just to get a feel for the shot. And then I am actually going to put Novak Djokovic underneath. So now we have the direct comparison between Ryan and Novak. And we will see that, Ryan, you have a very tight take back. So what I do like, again, is that you have a higher take back here. The wrist is over, or the wrist is below the racket face. And Novak has the same here. The difference then is, though, that, let me actually separate that here, that you're not really coming under the ball a whole lot. So if we see that here with Novak, he's letting that racket drop to almost about knee level, and then he's brushing up to contact, and that allows him, of course, to add massive amounts of topspin to the ball. So right here. And the difference also between you and him is that you're on that take back here, it's very tight on your upper body. So you see that here, Novak takes the racket back a little bit further on this stage here. There's a lot more air here, and you're coming immediately around. So the unit turn is okay, but I would like to have a little bit more room here between upper arm and rib cage. And you're then seeing the difference that just helps you gauge the distance to the ball differently. Whereas Novak here, when he's making contact, I think I can line that up exactly to the point where he's making contact, right there. You see that his entire body weight leans into the ball, forward into the ball. And when you're making contact, you're just a little jammed, and you have to almost pull out of the ball to make room. So I would like that contact point ever so slightly more over here. That is the racket face. And you can really bring your entire body weight forward and into the shot. So more distance here on the take back. We saw that in the side perspective, that you do bring it back enough, but we also see that you don't have as much of a lower loop. So that is something that I would like for you to work on, that you get in that deeper loop. And of course, always use your legs to also help you get under the ball. It's not just the racket that needs to get under the ball. It's actually primarily your legs. And then of course, it becomes a lot easier when you have a lower stance to really transfer that body weight into your shot. And you just get a little bit more pop. To me, again, more important, more topspin, more stability and control in your ball. Because you do want more net clearance. You don't want to hit a hard ball that kind of lands somewhere on the service line on the other person's side. You want balls that are landing about 1-2 yards before, in front of the baseline there. So the follow through is good. It's good extension here. You come around, you finish high over your right shoulder. If we saw it from the other side, you have a high finish and you have your elbow pointing to where you're hitting. That's ideal. Let's see what Novak is doing here. Also a very long finish, high finish, and both of you are letting their hips come through. And that's exactly what you want to do. So let's see that one more time. After the hit, feel free to let that left hip, come through and almost make it part of your recovery, as we see that here with Novak.